Hello there, it's Alara here from Alara Viral Coaching, and today I want to jump on and make a live video about how to talk about your product in a way that actually opens doors and avoiding those crickets of silence and awkwardness when you have these conversations. So we've all had these moments. Someone asks you, what do you do? And then you blast them with your elevator pitch, and then one of two things happens. Either it turns into an amazing conversation that's super inspiring, that everyone's jumping on board with, and you end up going into this dreamy state of talking in an from an inspired place. Or the second thing happens where the person's like, cool. Well, I know someone that does something similar as well. So they deviate the conversation to either someone else or something else. So, but they will deviate the conversation away. And it's just like, damn it, right? So I want you to just imagine, what would it be like if every conversation that you had around what you do was filled with that inspiration that we were talking about in that first scenario. If every single conversation that you had that was about what you do, if it was filled with that same inspiration, what would be the effects of that? I can tell you already, you'll start to get a load more people interested in what you do. You'll start to make a load more connections, probably end up making a load more sales, and the sales you do make will end up being so much more loyal because it's coming from this, wow, I just had this amazing conversation with someone and da-da-da. And yeah, so even if that person doesn't end up getting on board with it, they will, because you had this inspired conversation, they are bound to want to refer that on to someone, to talk about it to someone. So the thing is, how do we turn every conversation that we have about our business into something that's incredibly inspiring? Because it is possible, but right now you're probably just pushing people away by blasting them with your elevator pitch. So the first thing is inspire, not inform. So this video is going to kind of be like a training video, so take your notebooks out and start writing this down, because it literally will be a copy-paste version of what you can use when you're having your next conversation about your business. So the first thing is inspire, not inform. And what I mean by that is, so Tony Robbins has this saying that I really like. It's saying, you're stuck in your head, you're dead. And what that actually means is, if your conversation is just on the logical level of, I do this and this is my job title and then that is the energy that the conversation is going to have. It's like, oh yeah, very interesting, yeah. And it will just stay on that logical level. And when you're at that logical level, no one gets inspired. No one feels like they're emotionally in that conversation. And quite frankly, like, I would want to deviate a conversation that's in a really logical, stage, right? So, and the easiest way to inspire someone rather than informing them is to genuinely be passionate about what you're doing. Genuinely be passionate about what you're doing, connecting to that passion and glowing with that passion, so much so that they're like, man, that's cool. I want to be a part of that. I want to be engaged in this conversation, right? So how do you glow with that passion that you have? Number one is connect to your childlike self. So I want you to, next time you have a conversation, next time someone asks you, what do you do? I want you to notice, be aware of the thoughts that go through your head. And 9 times out of 10, the thought is attached to the outcome, right? It's like, oh, maybe they're asking because they could be a potential prospect, maybe they're asking because of da-da-da, and your thought jumps to, oh, what might be the implications of me talking about what I do and them understanding it. So when you're attached to what the outcome is going to be, this person is going to be, we're going to be informing them about what we do, and we're going to be seeing them as a target. We're like, listen to what I have to say, We're targeting, literally like shooting them with nuggets of information. And the thing is, that's why they dodge. That's why they deviate the conversation or find a way of exiting the conversation, because they feel like they're being targeted. People can feel that kind of stuff. So instead of targeting them, if you could release your attachment to the outcome and actually be present in the conversation, and the best way of doing that, you know what the best way of doing that is? Is jumping into your childlike self. I want you to picture every time when someone asks you a question about what you do, I want you to picture yourself answering as your 7-year-old self. Okay, and the way I want you to do that is by having a trigger word or a trigger kind of little phrase that makes you jump into that childlike state. And I want you to have this whole conversation in the mind of childlike enthusiasm, childlike presence, childlike fun. Okay, so for example, whenever anyone asks me about what I do, I'll go like, oh my god, well, okay, so oh my god is like my way of kind of snapping. That's my trigger word of snapping into my childlike state. So find a trigger word that helps you snap into that 7-year-old like state rather than the businessman like state of this is what I do, okay? So that's number one. That's the first way of inspiring, not informing. The second way that you can inspire and not inform. Right, let me just backtrack a little bit. So the first part of having these conversations that are inspiring is switching your mindset from informing into inspiring. And one way of doing that is through jumping into your childlike state. The second way of doing that is through entertaining and having fun. This isn't a conversation where you're just giving out your pitch. This isn't a pitch. This is a conversation. So entertain and have fun with it. So I'm just going to give you an example. So if someone said, hey, what do you do? I said, oh my god, well, if you asked me that question like 3 years ago, you would have thought that I've just walked out of a funeral, or like you would have just thought I walked out of a courtroom, something like that, right? And so you don't have to say that particular phrase, but it just takes away the pressure of telling people what you do, and that actually triggers some laughter. It triggers some, okay, this is actually going to be a fun conversation. So how can you bring a little bit of fun before you even start telling anyone about what you do? Okay, so your trigger word into snapping into a childlike state. So mine is, oh my god. So find yours. The second one is have fun with it. So say something that opens up the conversation into, this is going to be something fun. This conversation is going to be something fun. Okay, so the third element is pique interest and spark curiosity, almost mystery. And there's 2 ways that you can do this. Do not talk about what you do straight off the bat. Nobody cares. When they ask what you do, they're actually trying to ignite a conversation. They're trying to connect to that inspired conversation that we were talking about, right? So the way for you to ignite mystery and curiosity is by talking about the latest, most exciting thing that's happening in your business right now. So not like everything that your business is about and your whole business model, just the latest and most exciting thing that's happening. And the second thing is connect that to your vision of what is the impact that this is going to have. So, okay, so someone's just asked me, what do you do? I'm like, oh my god, well, if you just asked me that 3 years ago, you would have thought I just walked out of a funeral. But the thing is, like, right now I own my own business, and actually we're literally just about to launch this app, which is all about helping families have moments of magic when they're together, even if it's a family that's kind of disconnected. So, you know, what I did there was I didn't tell them exactly what I do. I didn't actually tell them what the app was really doing. All I said was, we're about to launch this app. So mystery and the latest exciting thing that's happening, and I connected it to my vision, of which is all about helping families that are normally disconnected have moments of magic. All right. So this is that. That's all about how to inspire, not inform. So then, what we want to do is lead them to have an epiphany. So the reason why you're so passionate about what you do, the reason why what you do lights you up so much, the reason why you've developed what you've developed or got the product that you do have, is because at some point you had an epiphany, you had a realization. And now you're wanting everyone that you talk to have this realization, to have this urge of inspiration without going through the same story, without going through the same process of the process that you went through for you to have that inspiration. So by telling someone, this is what I do, you know, it's solving this really important problem in the world and I think you should buy it, it's actually, you're robbing them of that experience, of that opportunity to have that moment of epiphany themselves. Okay, so the way that you can help them have that epiphany themselves, there are 5 steps to doing that. I think that's 5. I just wrote my notes down, so I'm just checking. I want to make these videos like as valuable as possible, so I like to spend ages like writing down notes and making it super concise before I actually jump on live. Okay, so how do you actually lead someone to have their own epiphany about their about your thing, about your vision? So number 1. Talk to them about the first time that you were exposed to this problem, and talk about the effects of it. Talk about the how that links into your vision. So you can say, look, well, so you got to the point in the conversation where you just sparked mystery, you sparked interest, and you said, yeah, and it's all about this vision. So at that point in the conversation, if they're on board with your vision, they'll be like, wow, that's really cool. You know, I have a family like this. Or if they are someone that is worth having this conversation with, this is the point where they'll say, hey, yeah, this what you're saying is really cool. Tell me a little bit more. They'll ask you a little bit more. So this is a point where you'll lead them into your epiphany story. So number 1, talk to them about the first time that you were exposed to that problem and what the effects of it were. So for example, I was brought up in a family where it was a pretty big family. You know, my dad's side of the family was huge, my mum's side of the family was huge, but because of the big family, there was always so much drama going on that no one really connected with each other. You know, this person couldn't see this person wouldn't talk to this person, and that's why all the Christmases we couldn't have at this person's house, and it was always drama. And what I ended up, what we all ended up feeling was, even though we were a massive family, everyone ended up feeling really lonely, and quite a few of the people in our family ended up with depression because and didn't have the support from their family that they would have liked. So I've just set the scene of the first time that I was exposed to my to this problem that I'm now solving, right? So what I did was start off the story. So instead of like actually telling them this is what it's about, we're actually creating a story here. So the second thing you want to do is connect it to, it's not only me that's experienced this, there's actually other people going on, and that's why we're solving it here as well. So I've just told my story of this is what my family was like, and we felt really lonely. The people that were having depression in the family didn't get the support they needed from their family. So the second thing would be, yeah, and what I noticed was the more people I talked to, the more people I noticed had this problem of being disconnected from their family, even though they had a really big one. So most people actually have big families, but most people that have big families aren't that connected to them, so they feel lonely. So I've just set the problems. I've set I told about my personal experience of it, and I set the worldwide problem of most people that have big families feel disconnected from them. Right? So then you talk about the solution that you develop. This is where you start to guide them into the epiphany that your product is how it fits into this story. So rather than just saying this is what my product does, you've guided them in to where your product fits into this ecosystem. So then you say, so I developed this app which basically creates customized storybooks with the faces of each family member cropped into the characters, so that a family can have its own custom story with everyone, including pets, stories in there where they can all engage and just have little moments of magic. So even though it's not having, sorry, I jumped ahead of myself there. So I just explained what the app actually does. It's a customized book creator where there's custom faces of the family members and the pets cropped into the characters, right? So that's a third element. You've set your own experience of the situation. You've told about the worldwide problem that you're tackling, and you told about the solution that you're creating. So the fourth thing is, what is the result of that solution? Okay, so we just talked about the customized books that this app creates for families. So what that actually means is, even though families are disconnected, they can still have these moments of magic, little moments of connection, without having to go to big, massive family therapy sessions. And the last step, so that's step 4, connect it to the result. Step 5 is connect the result to the vision of what is the impact, what is the bigger impact of that. So that means like, so the thing is, Like, the more people that can connect to the more people that can connect to moments of magic in their families that are normally disconnected, the more those little moments of magic will start to override the bigger problems that the bigger families experience. Because the more little moments of magic that we can create, the more people can feel connected to each other, and it overrides the bigger problems that they're experiencing. So what I've just done there is guide them through an epiphany story. So first, your own experience, then the worldwide problem, then the solution that you're offering, then the result of that solution, and then the impact that that has on the impact that that result will start to have on a bigger, larger scale. So the difference in between having conversations like what I've just said versus just firing someone with your elevator pitch is the difference between being sprayed by a water hose versus jumping in a lagoon, right? So if someone asks me, "Hey, what do you do?" and I just stop to get a water hose out, this is what I do. Even though it's just water, people don't like being sprayed by water, right? And just imagine on the contrast, if you're walking in a beautiful tropical place and you see this blue lagoon, don't you just want to jump into it? And this is what we're doing with this conversation. Instead of firing and targeting someone, we're creating this bubble, this lagoon of passion, so glowing. So we're sharing our glow with them, so that they can say, "Hey, I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of that conversation." And the conversation starts going into an inspired place rather than an informed place, right? So the first element is inspire, not inform, and you can do that by being childlike, making it fun and entertaining, and piquing interest and curiosity and mystery without like jumping straight into what you do. The second way you can do it is, or the second stage of doing it, is lead them to their own epiphany rather than just telling them what their epiphany should be. Through your epiphany story, through these steps, the steps of the story that I said. And the third element is the third element is about speak to them at their own level. So if your product is a super technology based thing, you're going to have a lot of technical words in there. You know, and my boyfriend is the worst for this. He is an aerospace engineer, and he always talks about like, oh, the EP3 Plus and this Trent 7000 and the and then the IP compressors, and I'm like, Josh, I don't understand anything you're saying right now. And he's like, no, it doesn't matter, I'm just talking to myself. I'm like, okay, well, it's not a conversation then. But the same thing happens when you're talking about your product, especially if it has like technical words. No one cares how smart you are. Talk to them at their own level. You are trying to create a genuine connection. Talk to them at their own level. So you can literally customize what I just said to yourself. So go through this video and find and do those little nuggets of homework that I put out for you, and literally in your next conversation that you have, you can turn that into an inspired, bubbly, lagoon-like conversation rather than a fire hose spraying conversation, and you'll be amazed at what the impacts of that is going to be. Because when you start talking from a childlike, inspired place, people want to be on board with that. People want to continue with that. When you start talking from a "I'm just about to pitch you and I really hope you buy from me" place, people want to avoid that and run away from it. So if the conversations that you've been having so far has been kind of scaring people off, then maybe this is something that you need to start implementing. Connect to that childlike place inside of you that's super excited about what you do. So I really hope this video has been helpful for you. If you think that it is helpful and you think you know people that it will be helpful for, just press that share button. And I'll see you in my next video. Have an amazing day.